So there are a few no-goes you should definitely avoid in every interview. So number one, not to be well prepared. I've had people walking into my interviews and they were not entirely aware of what exactly the job would ask them to do later on and what exactly the requirements were. And I usually see this immediately. You know, when I ask people to introduce themselves and they tell me everything about their life or about what they have done in their previous job without giving any hints as to, you know, how this relates to the job we are currently talking about, then this gives me a feeling of this person not being well prepared. So make sure that you take a look at the job ad again before you walk into the interview, research the company's latest news, try to figure out what they were doing in the past weeks, and then also make sure that you memorize the names of the people attending your interview. So either you look at them first, but if you already know who's going to attend, you can check the email and memorize the name, or else just make sure that you listen carefully at the beginning of your interview. That's the first thing you should definitely avoid, not to be well prepared. Then second thing, don't badmouth about your former employer. That's really the worst thing you can do. I mean, I know that, you know, if you apply for a new job, there's probably a reason of why you don't want to work for your former employer anymore. But that's not a reason to talk about your employer in a bad way. And I've had these kind of situations, and honestly speaking, if I listen to someone doing this, it gives me this kind of feeling of, you know, maybe this is a kind of difficult person. And the last thing I want when I hire someone is, you know, a lot of trouble with this person. So that would make me, you know, kind of stay away from this candidate. So try to avoid that. Really, really important. Then another no-go, weaknesses. You know, don't say like, there's a standard question. So what are your weaknesses? And then people say, you know, I like chocolate. Okay, liking chocolate is not a weakness. Everyone likes chocolate. Okay, it's probably a bit of a weakness, but not a real one, right? It's not related to your professional life at all. Same goes for sentences like, I'm a perfectionist, so I tend to, you know, focus too much on quality. Okay, everyone could say that. Same goes for empty phrases, not just, you know, general weaknesses, also empty phrases like, I'm a team player, I'm a high performer, I will, you know, make sure that your company really sells a lot and achieves everything you're planning to do. Okay, but you know, this doesn't tell me anything about you, so anyone could say that. And what you want to achieve is that people remember you when you walk out of this interview, and that people get a hint of who you really are. You need to be authentic. So try to come up with stories which are kind of proof of your character traits. So if you talk about being a team player, try to come up with a kind of story that showcases that you are a great team player or a high performer, and try to come up with a weakness that's kind of unique, and that's something a bit more personal. Of course, it should not affect you in a negative way, but it should be a bit personal. So these are already three things you should avoid. Then another thing that's also a no-go is not to ask any questions. That's a really, really bad thing if you don't ask questions, because you always get this option to ask questions in the end, and make sure that you make use of it, because it shows your interest in this job, and it shows that you have prepared well. And also, you know, here it's really important, like when you hire people, you want someone who is really proactive and also communicative and interested in the job this person is doing. So the worst thing is not to show any interest in the interview, right? So just make sure that you follow this and prepare some questions. I think there are always open points and things you can ask. And then the last thing I think is really, really important is to avoid to talk too much or too little. So you need to focus the information you're giving away. So for instance, one good example is in the beginning, people will often ask you, so tell me a bit about yourself. And this sounds like small talk, but it's not. This is the start of your interview, right? And when you give a self-introduction, it should not be too short, but it should also not be too long, because time is kind of precious, and it should be a bit like a pitch. I mean, when you do a self-introduction and tell them about yourself, This is aimed at telling them that, you know, you are the best candidate for this job. So I think this is something you can practice before the interview. So these were my top no-goes. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think are like the biggest no-goes, and maybe also you have experienced a real interview fail. So do share this with us. I'm always interested in learning about this. And yeah, just let me know your thoughts about this. And I will also link another video here where I talk about interview preparation, which I think will be of great help to you. So all the best for your interview.